Algebra class, let's go ahead and knock this homework out. I've got all the odd ones today, so let's start with number 1. It says solve the equations, check your solutions. If I solve this, remember I have to isolate W. So the first thing I'll do is combine my like terms. I have to get the 7 to the opposite side of the equal sign. So I will combine it with the opposite of positive 7, that's negative 7. And whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do the other. 19 minus 7 is going to give me 12. Now I have 3W equals 12. Again, I have to isolate W. So since I'm multiplying 3 to W, I'll divide it away. Remember, I have to do the opposite. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I do the other. 3 divided by 3 is 1, leaving me with W. And 12 divided by 3 is 4, so my answer must be 4. If I check it, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 7 is 19. That checks good. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 has 11 equals 12 minus Q. I need to get Q by itself. But I remember this is a negative Q, so I need to get Q to the other side. If I do that, this will become a positive Q over here and a positive Q over here. Now we have Q plus 11, because that's a positive 11, equals 12. Now we have to get the 11 to the other side. We'll subtract 11 from both sides. And now I have Q is equal to 12 minus 11, which is 1. All right, go on to number 5. Need to get Z by itself. Once again, I'm going to combine my like terms. I'll add 3 to both sides to get rid of that negative 3. Remember, the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. I get rid of it and leaves me with Z over at negative 4. That's going to be equal to 5 plus 3, which is 8. Next, I have to remember that Z is being divided by negative 4. And the opposite of dividing by negative 4 is to multiply by negative 4. Whatever I multiply to one side, I multiply to the other. Now this is like negative 4 over 1, so I'm able to cross this out. That leaves me with Z by itself, because this would equal Z over 1. Right? Remember, this would have been 1 and this would have been 1, so Z times 1 is Z. And 1 times 1 is 1. Anything over 1 is itself, C. And 8 times negative 4 will give me negative 32. Number 7 says I've got H plus 6 equals 2. Well, since I'm dividing by 5, I can multiply by 5 to get rid of it. Whatever I multiply to one side, I do to the other. This will give me H plus 6. Going to be equal to 10. Now I got to combine like terms. The only way to get rid of a positive 6 is with a negative 6. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. This leaves me with H equals 4. All right. Remember to do the even ones. I'm going to go to number 9. This one says 12V plus 10V plus 14 equals 80. I'm going to combine my like terms, 12V and 10V, make 22V. These are like terms because they both end with the same variable to the same power. I'm going to add the 14, and this has to equal 80. Now I'm going to combine like terms on opposite sides. To do that, I will subtract 14 from the side to get rid of it, which means I will subtract 14 from the side. This leaves me with 22V is equal to, well, I'm going to go with 66. Now I've got to get rid of the 22, so V will be by itself. Since I'm multiplying V to 22, I can divide 22 away. And whatever I do to one side, I do the other. 22 over itself is 1. That leaves me 1V. 66 divided by 22 is 3. So V must be 3. Number 11 says 3.8y plus 5.6y minus 2 will equal 2.7. This is the same as number 9, except we've got some decimals. 3.8 plus 5.6. To make sure I've got this all going right, let me make sure I got my calculator going. 3.8 plus 5.6. That's going to equal 9.4y. Remember, when my signs are the same, I find the sum. Now I have 9.4y minus 2 equals 2.7. To get rid of the negative 2, I'm going to add 2, which means I have to add 2 to this side. Be careful to line up your decimals. Remember, this is 2.7, not 27. So this is 2.0. To do this, I see that they're both positive numbers. That'll give me a 4.7. And that's going to be equal to 9.4. Why? I got to divide 9.4 away to isolate my variable. Remember, since I'm multiplying 9.4 to y, I have to divide it away to get rid of it, which means I have to divide 4.7 by 9.4. Let's see what we get. .7 divided by 9.4 gives us 0.5. Another way that we could write this, since 0.5 is y equals 1/2. Either answer should be acceptable. I would think since they wrote this in decimals, 0.5 is just fine. Let's move on. I'll be doing number 13. All right, number 13 says modeling real life. The altitude in feet of a plane, T minus after takeoff, is given. A equals 3,400 T plus 600. So let's write that down. A equals 3,400 T plus 600. And it says how many minutes after takeoff is the plane at an altitude of 21,000 feet. Now remember, the altitude in feet of a plane is this equation. So what we can do is replace A, which is altitude, for 21,000. So I'm just going to replace this A with 21,000. All right, now we solve it. I'm going to combine my like terms. These are numbers, so I can combine them. I'll subtract 600 from both sides. This is going to give me 20,400 equals 3,400. Okay, now I've got to get 3,400 away from T. I'll divide it away. Whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other. Let's pop that in our calculator. We've got 20,400. Oh, messed that up. 20,400 divided by 3,400. That equals 6. So the altitude in feet of a plane in T minutes, oh, T is the time. So in 6 minutes, right? That's what we're talking here. So we reached 21,000 feet in 6 minutes. All right, I'm going to go to number 15 next. This time we're distributing properties. So we're going to have to remember, we have to take the number in front and multiply it to everything in the parentheses. So 4 times z is 4z, and then 4 times 5 is 20. That's going to equal 32. Notice we did not take the 4 and multiply it to 32. We only multiplied to everything in the parentheses. Now we combine like terms. 20 and 32 are both numbers, so we will combine them. I'm going to subtract 20 from this side to get rid of it, so we can start isolating z. That's going to leave me with 4z equals 12. Now I have to divide by 4 so I can get z by itself. Whatever I divide from one side, I do the other, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. All right, that makes sense because 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. Let's go to 17. Again, we're going to distribute properties. This would be 6 plus 5m plus 5, because 5 times 1 is 5. It's going to equal 26. I can combine like terms on this side because 6 and 5 make 11. So this will make 5m plus 11 equals 26. All right, now we got to combine like terms on opposite sides. I'll combine my 11 and 26 by subtracting 11 from both sides, leaving me with 5m equals 15. Now I've got to get 5 away from m. Since I'm multiplying 5 to m, I'll divide it away. Remember, I'm always going to do the opposite operation of what I see. Well, this is going to leave me with m, because 5 divided by 5 is 1. That's 1m left over. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. All right, let's go to number 19. Again, I'm going to distribute properties. This will give me negative 15. Negative 6 times 3. That's going to give me negative 18. Negative 6 times x is minus 6x. Plus 4x, because 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Let's combine like terms. On this side, there's nothing to combine, so it stays 15. On this side, we have negative 18 and negative 24. Well, there's two negative numbers. When my signs are the same, I find the sum. 18 and 24 are going to make, I'm going to go with 42. So this will be a negative 42. I'm going to double check with my calculator just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. 18 plus 24 equals 42. And then 6x, negative 6x, and 4x is going to give me negative 2x. Remember, when my signs are different, I find the difference. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So that means I take the big number minus the small number. 6 minus 4 is 2, and keep the sign of the big number, negative. Now, I've got to isolate my variable x, so I got to get rid of this negative 42. The only thing that I can add to negative 42 to get rid of it is positive 42. Whatever I add to one side, I do the other. And I have negative 2x on this side, and that'll be equal to, well, again, signs are different. I'll find the difference. This is 42 minus 15, because it's big number minus small number. This will give me a 7, and I believe a 2. I'm going to double check my calculator again. 42 minus 15 does give me 27, and the bigger number is positive. All right, now I've got to get rid of this negative. Let me see, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. This negative 2. All right, so I'm going to divide negative 2 away, so I can get x by itself. And whatever I divide from one side, I have to divide from the other. 27 divided by 2 is going to give me 13. Since it's negative 2, it'll be negative 13 and 1/2. Right? Because, 27 divided by 2 will give me 13 with 1 left over. So it should be negative 13 and 1/2. Let's go to 21. This one's saying I'm going to have some decimals. So this would be 83.8 is going to be equal to 8.6 C. And then we got negative 7.3 times 6. Negative 7.3 times 6 is negative 43.8. So this would be negative 43.8. And then we have negative 7.3 times negative 2. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. So that'll make 7.3 times 2, that's going to be 14.6. And that's going to be a C. So this would be plus 14.6 C. All right, I can combine like terms here, because 14.6 plus 8.6 is going to give me 23.2. C. And now we have minus 43.8. All that's going to equal 83.8. Next, I got to isolate the C, so I'm going to get rid of this negative 43.8 by combining it with its like term. So I'll add 43.8, which means I will add 43.8 over here. When I add this, 8 and 8 is 16, carry the 1. 3 plus 3 is 6, that gives me 7. Don't forget that decimal. And 8 plus 4 is 12. It gives me 127.6 equals 23.2 C. I'm going to divide 23.2 C by 23.2. That gets C by itself. And whatever I divide from one side, I do the other. All right, now I have to take 127.6 and divide it by 23.2. That gives me 5.5. All right, I'm fairly certain all these are good. If you wanted to put 5 1/2 here, of course I would accept it. I'd rather it stay a decimal because you have decimals up here, but that still would be correct. It doesn't say to write it in decimal form. And this one here, I would also accept negative 13.5. In fact, you could do it either way because there isn't fractions or decimals here, but either one of these are going to equal X, okay? And this one, either one of these will equal C. All right, let's move on to number 23. Says, write and solve an equation to find this. 23 says, the sum of twice a number and 13 is 75. The sum of twice a number, sum means adding, right? So twice a number would be 2x. We don't know what the number is, but we're going to add it, the sum and 13, right? Twice a number and 13 will equal 75. To solve this, I'll subtract 13 from both sides. This will give me 2x is equal to, this should be 2, and this should be 6. We'll divide by 2 to get x by itself. And now x is going to equal 31. All right, let's do number 25 over here. 8 plus the quotient of a number and 3. The quotient of a number means a quotient is answer to a division problem, right? A number and 3 would be some number divided by 3, right? It says 8 plus the quotient of a number plus 3. So I am thinking this is going to be plus 8 indicates equal negative 2. Well, once again, we've got to isolate this variable. We'll combine like terms. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. This gives me n divided by 3. Some number divided by 3 is going to be equal to negative 10, because negative 2 and 8 make negative 10. Then, to get n by itself, I'll have to multiply by 3 because I'm dividing by 3 and I need to do the opposite. And whatever I multiply to one side, I do the other. This negates my denominator of 3, leaving me n. And negative 10 times 3 is negative 30. All right, let's try number 27. 6 times the sum of a number and 15. And that's going to equal negative 24. All right, the key here is that it's 6 times the sum. The sum is the answer, okay, of a number and 15. So we're going to have a number plus 15, that's adding, right? And all that's going to be multiplied to 6 because it's 6 times that. And that's going to equal negative 42. To do this, distribute properties. 6 times n is 6n. 6 times 15, wow, I think that's going to be 90. And that equals negative 42. Okay, I got to get rid of the 90. So I'll subtract it away, leaving me with 6n is equal to, well, 2 plus 0 is 2, and 4 plus 9 is 13. And since they're all negative, this will be a negative 132. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and divide by 6 so I can get rid of the coefficient 6. 6 divided by 6 is 0, or 1, so I'll have n left over, 1n. And then I have to divide negative 132 by 6. All right? 132 divided by 6 equals 22. So this would be negative 22, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. All right, next we're going to number 29. In exercise 29 and 30, find the value of the variable. We want to know what x is. Okay, well, we know that all these angles over here come up to, this is the sum of angle measure is 720. That makes this even easier, because that tells me that we have x plus 120, and there's 1, 2, 3 of those, right? So I could put 3 times 120. I can add that to 100. And then I can add that to x plus 10. And all that has to equal 720 according to this. Okay, now I can distribute properties that'll give me x equals 360, excuse me, x plus, not equals, x plus 360 plus 100 plus x plus 10 equals 720. Now I can combine all my like terms. I got x here and x here, so that makes 2 x's. I got 360 and 100, that's 460, plus 10 makes 470. And again, this should be a plus sign. And that's got to equal 720. I'm going to combine my like terms. The opposite of positive 470 is negative 470, which means I'll subtract 470 from this side. That leaves me with 2x is equal to, well, this is 0. I have to borrow 1. That'll leave me with 2. And this will leave me with, I believe, 5. So it's like 250. I'm going to have to divide this by 2 to get x by itself, which means I'll divide this side by 2. 250 divided by 2 is going to give me 125, which means x is equal to 125. All right, find the value of the variable, 125 degrees, then find the angle measure of the polygon. Okay. Use a protractor to check it. So this one here would be 125 plus 10, 135. All right, let's move on to number 31. Describe and correct the error. Well, I know that this is going to distribute properties. Negative 2 and 7 makes negative 14. That's correct. Negative 2 and negative y will give me a positive 2y. So that's incorrect. Let's go ahead and correct that over here. Negative 14 was correct, but it should be a positive 2y because a negative times a negative is a positive. And then we'll add 4, and that will equal negative 4. When we combine like terms, negative 14 and 4 make negative 10. So now I have negative 10 plus 2y is equal to negative 4. We'll combine like terms on opposite side, which means I'll have to add 10 on both sides. And this will give me 2y is equal to, well, 10 minus 4 is 6. When I divide y by 2, I get y by itself, but then I have to divide 6 by 2, which gives me positive 3. So the answer should have been positive 3 and not negative 3. All right, it says on number 33, during the summer you work 30 hours per week at a gas station and earn $8.75 per hour. Okay. You also work as a landscaper for $11 per hour and can work as many hours as you want. You want to earn a total of $400 per week. How many hours must you work as a landscaper? Okay, so remember, we want to earn 400. Everything's got to equal 400. And let's see, 30 hours per week. So they're only letting you, remember, we're trying to see how many hours you have to work in a week, right? So you want to make 400 a week. So there's 30 hours for 875. So this would be 30 times 875. And now the money that you earn as a landscaper is $11 an hour. So we're going to add $11 and we'll just say H means hours. We don't know how many hours you have to do because that's what we're looking for. All right, then we're going to solve it. Here's the work. You see, I came up with the same equation they did. 400 equals 30 times 8.75 plus 11t, right? And to solve this, first we take 30 times 8.75. That'll give us 262.5. We got to do combine like terms, so we'll subtract 262.5 from each side, leaving us with 137.5 equals 11t. Then we will divide 11 from 11t, which means we'll divide 137.5 by 11, giving us 12.5t. All right, time to do number 35. 35 says the square of a surface of a swimming pool is 210 square feet. What is the length of the depth or at the deep end. All right. All right, to do this, I have to remember they're talking about the area of the surface, and the area is everything in here. So that's found by length times width. So that means I'm going to start off with 210 as my answer, and that's going to equal, remember, length times width. My length of my pole, or we'll go width times length, it doesn't matter. That's going to be 10, all right? And we're multiplying that to the width, which is d plus 9. All right, and that's got to equal 210. To solve this, it's pretty easy. We'll distribute properties, right? And that'll give us 210 is equal to 10 times d is 10d, and 10 times 9 is 90. We'll subtract 90 from both sides. And that's going to give me, let's see, 10d is going to be equal to, there's a 0, got to borrow 1, so that's going to be 120. Now I'll divide 10d by 10. Oh, I'm sorry, 34 was for you to do. It was my job to do number 35. I gave you a pretty good clue there, didn't I? All right, your cell phone has 983.5 megabytes of free space. You save a 1.4 megabyte picture and download 2 songs that are the same size. Your cell phone now has 974.9 megabytes of free space. What is your size? What is the size of each song? All right, to solve this, we have to realize the phone has a capacity of 983.5. Hold on. Everything has to equal 974.9. All right, because that's your cell phone now has this. It has this free space. So let's see, that would be 983.5. And now you're subtracting the 1.4 megabytes. And you're also downloading 2 songs, so it's also minus 2, we'll just say S's. Okay? So when we go to solve this, should come up to this. All right, and I'm showing you the work, and let's see if I got it right. 974.9 equals 983.5 minus 1.4 minus 2. Good. We combine like terms. 983.5 minus 1.4 will equal 982.1, and then negative 2s comes down. We're going to combine like terms on each side, so we're going to subtract 982 from each side, leaving us with negative 7.2 equals negative 2s. When we divide negative 2 away, and they didn't show that step, so I'll show it over here. That means I'll have to divide this side by negative 2. And 7.2 divided by negative 2 gives us 3.6 equals S. So each song is about 3.6 megabytes. All right, we're moving on to number 37. Look at this, my own flag. The perimeter of Puerto Rico flag is 150 inches. That means all the way around it is 150 inches. What are the dimensions of the flag? Well, remember, if this is y, then this is y. And if this is 3 over 2y, then up here is 3 over 2y. We know that because it's a rectangle, which means we can come up with the equation. Remember, the perimeter is 150. That has to equal, well, we could say that we have y plus 3 over 2y multiplied to 2, right? Because we have them over here by 2. All right. When we do this, we can't combine these together if we want to, can't we? Because if this is 1y and this is 3 over 2y. Remember, they're like terms. I can say this is 150, and it's going to be equal to 2 times, well, 1 and 3 over 2y. Okay? Let's see. 3 over 2y is really 1 and 1/2, isn't it? So, in essence, this is going to be 150. It's going to be equal to 2 times 1. Let's see, if that's 1 1/2, it's going to be joined onto there. So that's going to actually be 2 and 1/2 y. Well, 2 1/2 y can also be 2.5, right? So I could put 150 is equal to 2 times 2.5 y. All right. Let's see. 2 times 2.5, I'm pretty sure is going to give us 5. 2 times 2.5 is going to give us 5. So now we got 150 is equal to, well, 5y. We'll divide 5 away from y to isolate y, which means we'll divide 150 by y, or by 5, excuse me. We know that 15 divided by 5 is 3, so 150 divided by 5 must be 30. So that tells me that y is 30. That means the dimensions for y is 30. And since this is 3 over 2, and we know 3 over 2 is 1 and 1/2, 1 and 1/2 of 30 would be 45. Yeah, 3 over 2, yep, 3 over 2 times 30 would be 45. So the dimensions should be 30 by 45. And let's not forget our unit of measure, inches here. So I guess it'd be 30 inches by 45 inches. All right, let's get to number 39. It says in exercise 39 and 40, justify each step of these solutions. So what are we doing first here? All right, let's go ahead and solve these problems. All right, excuse me. So the first thing we see is they got rid of the -1. So that means they added 1 to each side. Okay, and that's how they got 7 over here, because 6 plus 1 is 7. Next, down here we see that they got 5x minus 8 by itself, and we have -14. So what they did over here is, instead of distributing this property, what they did is multiplied by -2 over 1, right? So they multiplied by -2. And that's the inverse of -1 over 2, -2 over 1, right? So in this one, they multiplied both sides by -2. Okay. On this one, we see that they got rid of the -8. The only way to do that would be to add 8 to both sides, right? So we can say they added 8 to both sides. And lastly, over here, to get rid of 5x, they would have had to divide it by 5, right? Which would explain why -6 is being divided by 5. So they divided both sides by 5. And that's it. That's how they got their answer. Well, I did all my homework. It's time for you to do all yours. I will see you in class tomorrow for grading, or Monday by the looks of it. So good luck, and see you.